In absolutely heartbreaking fashion, Triston Casas is officially out for the season for the Boston Red Sox. Why Rafael Devers should not be the one to replace him.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And want to know the best part? It's completely free. So you might as well tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show where the Red Sox had an off day yesterday, so we couldn't watch them lose. And I hate having to say that because I really thought at this point in the season that they would have more wins on the board than they do. They did not capitalize against the not very good teams. An example includes the White Sox had to have picked up more wins against them than they did, and unfortunately it didn't happen. So now there's more pressure on the Red Sox to pick things up as the rest of the season progresses. Unfortunately, that will be without Triston Casas, who is officially out for the rest of the season. Completely heartbreaking. Going to be talking about some other first base options on today's show as well. And it's talking about why Devers should not be moved to first base. I'm also going to be giving an update on pitcher Walker Buehler. So, in heartbreaking fashion, in Friday night's Red Sox game, Triston Casas suffered a ruptured tendon in his left knee, and now he's officially out for the remainder of the season. The 25-year-old Casas ruptured his patellar tendon running to first on a slow roller up the line and fell awkwardly in the Red Sox victory over the Twins on Friday night. He was laying on his back in pain, very scary to watch, was not really moving. He was unable to even lift or move the knee at all. And then he was carted off on a stretcher before being taken to a Boston hospital. So definitely not a very fun thing to watch or think about. It's super heartbreaking. The team announced on Sunday that he had surgery for a left patellar tendon repair at Mass General Hospital, performed by Dr. Eric Bergson. Craig Breslow said in a news conference on Saturday, discussing the injury outside the clubhouse, he said, "I talked to him last night. We exchanged text messages Saturday. We all care deeply about just his overall well-being." Manager Alex Cora said Casas worked hard during the offseason to play every day after missing a large amount of last year with a torn cartilage in his rib cage. That also makes it even more heartbreaking was Casas was finally healthy and ready to play the whole season this year. And then all of a sudden he just can't play. It's definitely super heartbreaking to deal with as a fan. And having him suffer an injury that's going to keep him out the whole season again. Cora said he did an outstanding job in the offseason to put himself in that situation. It didn't start the way he wanted it to. He was going to play and play a lot. Now we've got to focus on the rehab after the surgery and hopefully get him back stronger than ever and ready to go next year. Casas batted 182 with 3 homers and 11 RBIs before getting injured, but Breslow said his loss will be felt, especially with the team's lack of depth at the position, which they do have. He certainly struggled through the first month of the season, but that didn't change what we believe his production was capable of being. It's a big loss. In addition to what we think we were going to get on the offensive side, he was kind of like a stabilizing presence on the defensive side of the field. Also a big personality and a big part of the clubhouse. During spring training, Casas had talked about how his focus at the plate this season was being more relaxed. He said, "You really want it until you don't. Then you can't want it that much." Now he'll just have to focus on prioritizing his recovery plan for next season. The lefty was placed on the 10-day injured list on Saturday with outfielder Abraham Toro selected from AAA Worcester. So now there's a situation where the Red Sox lack first base depth and they're wondering what they should do about that position. And one thought that has been floated around among a lot of people is Rafael Devers moving to first base. Do not put Devers there. That makes zero sense. If you're going to move somebody to first base, do not have it be the guy that you made it so clear during the offseason is going to be your DH. And Devers at the beginning of the season really struggled when he hit 0 for 19 to start the year. And a lot of that, I feel like, primarily had to do with the fact that he was adjusting to no longer playing in the field and being a full-time DH, because mentally that can be tough on a player. So for Devers, him adjusting to having to move off of third base and be a DH was hard enough for him. So now the Red Sox are going to say, oh, by the way, you're going back to playing in the field and you're going to play first base. I don't think that really would sit well with him either, because now I think he's finally accepted the fact that he's the DH. And I don't think he'd be too happy with the Red Sox if they were like, by the way, we're going to move you again. We didn't want you in the field before, but now we want you back in the field because we really need you because Casas isn't here anymore. It's a little bit of a slap in the face to him. Like, we didn't think you were good enough defender to play third base this year, and we put Alex Bregman there. But now, because we're backed into a wall and Triston Casas is hurt, yeah, we want you to play in the field again. I just don't think that's a good look for Devers. And Alex Cora has no interest in putting Devers at first base anyway. Cora said essentially that he is the DH and that's where he plays. And essentially, Cora didn't even have another thought about it. He just said, he's my DH, and that is what it is. So clearly, Alex Cora has no interest in Devers playing there. And I don't blame him, because honestly, Devers finally has adjusted to being the DH, and you don't want to continue to risk throwing off his game even more by having him move over to first base. And also, not to mention the fact that he wasn't the best defender at third. Defense was not exactly his strength at that position. So what are you going to do? Try to force the defense to be there again by moving him to first when you already weren't confident enough in his defense at third? No, it just doesn't make any sense when you have other internal options that you can utilize. And Devers has straight up avoided talking about the situation at all. He's kind of dodged Red Sox reporters when it comes to asking him about it, because he knows what happened the last time he was asked about a position switch, and it became this huge situation about is Devers being a bad teammate by refusing to switch to DH and switch off of third base. And it became a situation where people were saying, you know, it's a bad look on Devers. So now I don't blame him. He's probably afraid to talk about anything related to this situation of potentially switching positions. And it's not fun for anybody to have to witness their teammate get an injury like that. That's absolutely gut-wrenching, and they miss the entirety of the season. So everybody already is feeling those emotions of being sad for Casas and feeling like it's a really scary situation and they don't want it to happen to them. So you add that emotion to Devers and add more stress to his plate by saying, yeah, good luck, we're going to throw you at first base because we're kind of desperate. I don't like that at all. You stick with Devers as the DH and you find other options to play first. Is it heartbreaking that Casas is out? 100%. Do you have to focus on finding other options at this point? Yes, it just is what it is. The Red Sox need to find a viable first base option. And the question is going to be, do they find a first base option that is from another team? Do they make a trade? Do they try to pick up somebody who had been DFA'd? Do they, stick with internal options? Because obviously they need to figure something out for the entirety of the rest of the season. And Casas, around the same time last year, went down with an injury and ended up coming back towards the end of the season. And the Red Sox were able to have Dom Smith come and play that position. And he was able to keep things afloat for the Red Sox until Casas came back. But first base is a position in which they have lacked depth for a while. So it's not like they have this deep farm system of players that they can pull from in order to have a viable first base option. But I still don't think Devers should be the option under no circumstances would that be a good idea, because you've already knocked down his confidence a little bit once by moving him to DH, and it's a slap in the face to him to say, we didn't really need you in the field before, but now because there's a guy injured, we kind of need you back in the field. I'm with Cora on it. I don't think it's a good idea to have Devers move over and play that position. He should stick to being the DH. Now that he's gotten into his routine as a DH, it could really throw off his routine, putting him back in the field, because now his mindset is only working on hitting. So you don't really want to affect his game in a negative way by saying, yeah, we're going to have Devers take over at first base for the rest of the season, and then he's expected to alter his routine seamlessly and be okay with that and make the adjustment. Because then what will happen is, if he does get moved over to first base and he has to change his routine again, and he's trying to make all these adjustments and it's not happening at as rapid of a pace as you would want it to, then there's going to become an issue of people saying, wow, Devers is back to being bad, like people were saying at the beginning of the season when he wasn't hitting well. So keep him where he is. Do not move him under any circumstance. There are other routes the Red Sox can take when it comes to first base, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. As somebody who has experience with, unfortunately, getting hacked, I know the importance of making sure you're managing your money and monitoring what's going into and out of your account. So Monarch Money is such a useful and reliable resource for you to make sure that you're controlling and keeping track of everything. I feel awful for Triston Casas. My heart absolutely breaks for the guy. And I really hope that he has a smooth recovery and that he's able to be back and better than ever heading into next season. And it truly is unfortunate, because after he missed a lot of the season last year, for him to be excited and amped up about coming back, to now be injured again and experience something that's going to keep him out for the entirety of the season this time, that's just super heartbreaking. I really feel for him, and I really hope that he is able to absolutely go off next year, because I really sympathize with the guy and I just feel really badly. And while he's out, what are the Red Sox going to do at first base? So there are internal options that they can go with. They ended up calling up infielder / outfielder Abraham Toro from AAA Worcester. So Toro is a switch hitter, so that gives the Red Sox that left-handed bat option at first base, and for him to be able to switch and hit both right-handed and left-handed is going to be really valuable. So as of right now, he will split time at first along with Romy Gonzalez, who bats right-handed, so they'll be able to have that little bit of a balance of, if there's a lefty on the mound that day, they can kind of plan that accordingly when it comes to Toro versus Romy and who to use at first. So that definitely helps with that. Abraham Toro also, since I've been covering the Woo Sox in person this year, has been putting together some really solid at-bats in Worcester. He's one of their more consistent hitters this year. He's a guy who manager Chad Tracy speaks very highly of. I asked Tracy the other day, offensively, who he feels from the guys have been producing a lot and consistently able to put together really strong quality at bats. And Toro was somebody he mentioned, who he said has gone out there and has been very reliable offensively. So obviously over the course of his career, he hasn't always been the best player, but it does give me a little bit of hope that he has looked very good in Worcester this season. And I'm excited to see the chance that he is able to get. Obviously, Casas' injury took place on Friday, and then Romy Gonzalez was in the lineup on Saturday and Sunday. So we haven't gotten to see Toro with the major league team yet. But I'm glad he got his chance because he definitely, based on what he's been doing in Worcester, deserves it. And when you look at the options that the Red Sox do have and the lack of depth, you have to hope that these two players in Romy and Toro are going to be productive. Romy has logged 4 hits and 6 at-bats across the pair of games that he played in replacement for Casas. But his career numbers include a 251 batting average, 283 on base percentage, and 393 slugging in limited opportunities. That suggests that he might not be a permanent solution for a team that is looking to return to the playoffs. The good thing about Romy is he does play multiple infield positions, so they see him as kind of a utility guy. He's been very good in pinch hitting situations. Last year, he was used as a go-to to pinch hit a lot, and he was trusted in those situations. But I don't think the Red Sox see him as an everyday first baseman. And that's where the opportunity comes in of, are the Red Sox going to look for external options, or are they just going to go with Toro and Romy? And I think for right now, you'll just see them alternate between those two guys and give them the option. And they might be open to external options also that they're kind of searching for at the moment, but I don't think it's super urgent to the point where we'll see somebody on the roster tomorrow. I think they are going to take some time to look, and they see Toro and Romy as viable options in the meantime to hold down the fort at first base, and then they look for somebody else who could be an outside option. And one name as an outside option that has been brought up has been the St. Louis Cardinals. And because they've been linked to trades with the Red Sox in the past, there could be an opportunity here because they have a homegrown first baseman named Luken Baker, who would be a great trade chip to help the Red Sox fill their lineup void created by Casas' injury. So with 3-time All-Star Wilson Contreras occupying first base for the foreseeable future in St. Louis, Baker hasn't logged many plate appearances this season. He's batted .212 with 7 hits, including 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, and a .623 OPS in just 33 at-bats across 18 games played for the Cardinals. So obviously a pretty small sample size with him. Despite holding AAA Memphis's franchise record with 86 home runs throughout 318 games played across 4 seasons, one of which included just 2 games, he has been criminally underused by the Cardinals as they figure out how to repair their broken player development system while undergoing an organizational reset. He's a pull power right-handed slugger whose stats would significantly improve if he had the opportunity to play half of his season at Boston's hitter-friendly Fenway Park. He has a great bat for Fenway. And that was a strong argument for why Arenado fit for the Red Sox when the Cardinals looked to trade him this past winter. And given that St. Louis is actively investing in its youth, it's doubtful that he would be traded to Boston because I do believe at the end of the day that the Cardinals probably see him as part of their future because Contreras, I mean, at this point, is not going to be around forever. But if the Cardinals could land a solid top prospect haul from the Red Sox farm system, which ranks number 3 right now, according to MLB.com, then trading the powerful 28-year-old could work. So I don't know that it will happen necessarily because the Cardinals might want to keep him around, but it's definitely a name to potentially keep in mind. And when we're thinking about other options here, there is another option with the Mets that could be a longer-term solution. So when you look across the league, this is a guy who could be a decent fit. John Singleton, Mets AAA affiliate. So why could he be a good fit? he would seem to mostly check off a lot of the Red Sox boxes and fit their needs. He's a lefty hitter who produced league average offense last year in a platoon role with the Astros. He's notched a 270 with a 426 on base percentage and 568 slugging stat line with 7 home runs and nearly as many walks as strikeouts over the course of 23 AAA games to date. And he's certainly not going to leapfrog Pete Alonso anytime soon. So one has to imagine that the Mets would be willing to ship him to Boston if the Red Sox show interest. So with AAA Syracuse, 269 average, 410 on base percentage, and 552 slugging with a 962 OPS, 6 home runs and 14 RBIs in 20 games, 21 for 16 strikeout to walk ratio, 17 for 16 ratio versus right-handed pitching. So he's definitely somebody who could be strong against righties. He's a 33-year-old veteran who signed a minor league contract with the Mets back in April and is playing for their AAA Syracuse squad. If the Mets could get a solid return in exchange for him, they could pursue a deal with the Red Sox if the opportunity presents itself. So similar to Abraham Toro, who signed a minor league deal with the Red Sox this offseason and then opted to stay with the team when he didn't make the major league roster. Singleton is hanging out in the Mets minor league system right now, but he has experience. He's a veteran, so he could be another option. So while any option and route that you go isn't necessarily a sure thing because of the fact that, anybody could not perform, but that's always the risk that you take. But it's just a matter of what qualities the Red Sox see. Do they feel like a platoon of Romy and Toro is going to get the job done for the rest of the season? I'm really not thinking that that's going to end up happening. I think they'd rather try to acquire more of an everyday first baseman, and going with a veteran might be the move because Casas hopefully is going to come back next year. And if that happens, then the Red Sox don't really necessarily need to pick up a young first baseman who's going to be expected to be part of the future longer term. They could bring in a veteran who is there for this year to help the Red Sox get through the season and have a first baseman there who has the experience of being in the majors and they won't be afraid to cut ties with after Casas returns. So that could be a path to take. So I'm sure the Red Sox are going to look on the trade market, the free agent market, and potentially see who could be an option. Now, don't even think about Bobby Dahlbeck. He's been struggling again this year before he was DFA'd, and I don't want him back. No need to bring him back when there are other options on the market out there. So we will see who is out there, but I don't expect for this platoon of Toro and Romy to be the solution for the Red Sox all season long because they are trying to go back to the playoffs and you want to have somebody stable at first base. And obviously you can still give Romy his reps at first, but you do want somebody like a Dom Smith equivalent who can play first base every day for you. So we'll have to see how that all unfolds. But coming up, I'm going to be giving an update on Walker Buehler, who actually received better news than we thought. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Red Sox season continues to progress, I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is the only ticketing vendor I use now for anything. I don't purchase tickets from any other source. So if you want to have a pleasurable experience when it comes to buying tickets, I highly recommend Game Time because you also will save money compared to other vendors because it truly is cheaper. So your next live event you want to go to, utilize them 100%. As the Red Sox continue to progress through the season, Walker Buehler continues to try to make his way back, and he did receive some good news recently. So the Red Sox are playing it safe with him. They placed him on the 15-day injured list last Friday due to right shoulder bursitis. It definitely was a frustrating development for the Red Sox, who recently overcame the early season injury bug involving Lucas Giolito and Brayan Bello. But fortunately for Buehler and his team, the shoulder issue does not appear to be serious. He actually even said that he would have pushed through it if the Red Sox were at a point in the season when the stakes were higher. He said, if this is October, we're not having this conversation. Buehler thought it was a bit embarrassing to land on the IL, but he did acknowledge that it was the right thing to do at this point in the season. The veteran right-hander anticipated missing just 3 starts at most before rejoining the Red Sox rotation, so it's obviously not super severe, but I do agree with him. It's the right thing to do because you do want to play it safe in these situations, especially for a guy like him who has had Tommy John surgery twice in his career. You don't want to risk throwing him out there when he's not 100%. And then losing him for the rest of the season, especially because he has been pitching well as of late. And so you want that productivity out there. And as much as it's annoying for him, putting him on the IL now and making sure that that shoulder is under wraps before bringing him back makes sense to do now at the beginning of May, as opposed to at the end of September when the Red Sox might be trying to clinch a playoff spot. So obviously he's not super happy about it, but definitely good news in regards to how much time he's likely going to miss, because when this injury first came up, I thought that there was a chance he was going to miss a lot more time, but it looks like he's not going to, and that's a huge relief for the Red Sox. In the meantime, he'll continue to just make sure that he's getting his reps in and that the shoulder is under wraps, but the sooner he can come back, obviously the better it is for a rotation that has overall been pitching pretty well as of late. The bullpen, completely different story, but if you have Brayan Bello continue to pitch the way that he has, he looked really good in his last start. Tanner Houck had a solid start this week. Garrett Crochet is Garrett Crochet. If you add Walker Buehler back into that mix, that's going to be huge for the Red Sox rotation as they look to try and get closer to a playoff spot. And even Lucas Giolito looked good in his Red Sox debut, which was last week. Buehler is 4-1 with a 4.28 ERA right now in his 6 starts since signing a 1-year, $21.05 million contract with the Red Sox this past offseason. So the Red Sox have been able to enjoy Hunter Dobbins pitching in his place, and he has thrown pretty well. So Buehler, based on that ERA right there, that 4.28, you might be thinking that's okay, but that number's a little bit skewed because he did struggle in his first couple starts with the Red Sox. He pitched the home opener, and then his next start after that, he didn't really pitch that well for Boston, but his last few starts since then have been very solid, quality starts. So that ERA is going to hopefully continue to go down a little bit as long as he stays healthy once he comes back, because he looked really good and he has been pitching really well. So that's why him being on the IL right now is definitely like a bit of a bummer. But I am excited to see how he performs when he comes back. The rotation definitely needs it because this is a rotation that could kind of fall apart at any time. I don't think it will. And I'm not saying that that's likely to happen, but with the question marks that we went into the season with related to this rotation, you don't really know if at some point they're going to start to struggle and everything's going to fall apart and not go their way. And that would be super frustrating to watch. So hopefully Buehler can come back soon. I anticipate him only missing, 1 or 2 more starts, and then he'll come back and hopefully be able to contribute. And what Walker Buehler brings to the table that not a lot of other pitchers do is that he has 2 World Series championships under his belt. He knows what it's like to win, and he knows what it's like to push through adversity. And if you're a veteran with experience, you know that these types of obstacles are not going to be able to shut you down and not be able to get you to not be able to be resilient. And obviously there are certain injuries that you literally don't have another choice. You cannot pitch the rest of the season. But in this case here with Buehler, that's luckily not the case. And he understands that throughout the course of a major league career, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have times when you're not at your best. You're going to have times where you get held back because of an injury, but you have to know that you have to do what you can to remain positive about the situation and push through. And the fact that Buehler even said that he would play through this injury if it was October shows that it's not severe enough to the point where he has to miss an extended period of time. And I love that attitude. That's the right attitude to have is, I might be in a little bit of pain, but if my team is in October and I can get them to the World Series, I am going to pitch and I am not going to sit out. And honestly, any team should want that kind of attitude and mentality in their clubhouse, just that bulldog mentality, a guy who wants to win. And that is the most important thing to him. And that is something that Walker Buehler portrays that not everybody does. So hopefully when he comes back, he can pitch as well as he did prior to getting injured, because his last few starts have been very dominant and they have been a game changer for the Red Sox rotation. So if we continue to get that from him and we continue to get solid performances from guys like Lucas Giolito and Brian Bayo and hopefully Tanner Houck starting to turn things around, that could be a solid rotation. And then you add, somebody else into the mix. Cutter Crawford's not even close to coming back yet, but, Richard Fitz, if he makes his way back from the IL, Hunter Dobbins may still be in the mix. That's a solid group of players if they are pitching at their best that you could rely on. And that's super exciting. Good news on Walker. Happy he's not going to be out for a lot longer. So I know the Red Sox have been frustrating as of late, but there definitely are some things to be positive about. So try to stay positive and, like I always say, keep the faith. I do appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great show. Really goes over all the games that took place that night, so you can definitely check it out. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.